When Jasmine Crockett quietly explained a timeline of public records showing political wrongdoing, Karoline Leavitt panicked and called the police. What came next was a national wake-up moment. It was never supposed to be a big deal, a regular Thursday night show on government openness, live from a studio in Arlington, Texas, with 4 lawmakers and 1 moderator. Normal setup. Jasmine Crockett was added last minute. Because another congresswoman canceled, she didn't prepare a speech, just brought her usual folders, highlighters and sharp memory. The studio lights buzzed overhead. The moderator, Paul Linfield, a calm man in a gray suit, who often interrupted women more than men, gave his normal intro. "We want a lively, respectful chat tonight," he said, eyes moving between guests. Jasmine didn't need that reminder. She fixed her mic, checked her notes, and greeted the camera in her steady voice. "Transparency is not just a buzzword, it's the promise between the government and the people." Karoline Leavitt, sitting 2 chairs away, sighed loudly enough that her mic picked it up. C-SPAN wasn't used to drama, but this night was different. Jasmine brought documents, a slim folder with dates, names, and censored memos already available in government files but ignored by the media. As she started naming them, her voice stayed steady and serious. On March 12th, a private memo from the Office of Presidential Scheduling showed a secret meeting with 3 unnamed energy leaders who were not listed on the White House visitor log. That meeting happened just before a federal decision to ease environmental penalties. Karoline froze. "Are you saying there's corruption in the Oval Office?" she asked, trying to sound calm but failing. Jasmine didn't even glance at her. "I'm reading public records." Karoline, the moderator, jumped in, trying to cool things down. "Congresswoman Crockett, just to clarify, are you saying—" "I'm saying the facts. Explain everything." The camera caught Karoline's hand shaking. She grabbed her pen, then clenched her fist. She wasn't used to losing control live, but Jasmine wasn't yelling or accusing. She was just presenting the facts one by one, and it was working. Jasmine brought up another document showing how policy changes match donations. Her voice got a little sharper enough to show this was not opinion. This was proof, a clear trail, like a skilled lawyer would leave behind. Karoline cut her off. "You're playing with fire." Jasmine looked at her for the first time. "No, I'm just telling the truth. If that burns something, maybe it should burn the control room." Switched to a wide camera. Silence lasted nearly 5 seconds. Enough for thousands at home to lean in. The moderator, Paul, cleared his throat. "Let's take a break. We'll return after this." The screen went to commercial. Inside the studio, chaos began. Karoline turned to Jasmine as soon as the camera stopped. "You think this is a joke? You're leaking secret information on live TV. That's illegal." Jasmine didn't change her expression. "I said nothing secret. If you doubt me, check the Federal Register." Karoline stood up so fast, her earpiece fell. Producers rushed to stop things. Interns tried to gather the scattered papers Jasmine had laid out. One assistant asked her if she wanted them back. Jasmine said no, let them read. Karoline walked out, already on her phone, voice raised. "Capitol Police, yes. I want to report a national security issue." Even the sound team went silent. Jasmine stayed still, watching her leave, her voice calm. This is how truth gets treated. But Karoline's next move would change everything. Viewers at home had no clue what happened off camera. They just saw an abrupt switch to commercial. No warning, no ending, just the show's logo, then a happy tire ad. Too cheerful for the moment. But inside the studio, emotions boiled. Staff looked shaken. The director's headset buzzed with fast instructions. Someone from legal was already calling the network's risk manager. Meanwhile, Jasmine stayed seated, leaned back, unreadable mind racing through the effects she knew. Karoline panicked, but she didn't yet know Karoline had made a choice that would blow the whole thing bigger. In the hallway, Karoline's voice echoed. "I'm not joking. She exposed information that could risk security. I don't care if it was public." She connected things she shouldn't have. The police officer on the line kept asking what law was broken. Karoline didn't answer. She just repeated words like risky sharing and reckless behavior. Back in the studio, moderator Paul looked pale. He whispered, "She made it worse, much worse." Jasmine stood up slowly and finally spoke to the team. "Can someone call my chief of staff? He needs to know what's happening." An intern nodded and left fast. Karoline returned 10 minutes later, holding her phone like it was proof, her face red. "You'll regret speaking up." Jasmine turned to her and said, "And you'll regret using the police to clean your mess." Paul stepped in quickly to stop another outburst. "Ladies, please be civil. We still have 20 minutes left." Jasmine raised an eyebrow. "You expect me to sit next to someone who tried to criminalize me for reading public files that made the room quiet?" The show's producer, Alondra Greer, a serious woman, stepped in. "We're cutting the rest. We can't risk another clash. And the phones are already ringing." She looked at Jasmine. "We'll walk you to your car." Jasmine gave a small laugh, not because It was funny, but because this was too familiar, am I the threat, or is she? Alondra didn't answer. As Jasmine picked up her papers, her phone buzzed. Her Chief of Staff, Noel Reyes, already knew Capitol Police were calling because of Karoline. Jasmine would likely need to give a written response in 2 days. I didn't say anything that's not public, she told him. Let them check, it's all in the records. Noel's voice was calm, but serious. That won't stop this from becoming big. They won't care you followed the rules. They'll care you embarrassed powerful people outside. The studio. The night was warm. A few reporters were already outside. Word was spreading fast. A young reporter from ABC was live streaming, trying to confirm what was said. That ended the show. Jasmine didn't answer. She walked to her car, got in, and shut the door. Noel was texting, we need to take control before they change the story. She replied, too late. They already are. The car drove off behind her. Studio lights still glowing inside that building. Karoline was likely pacing, maybe writing a statement, maybe booking spots on conservative shows. Jasmine wasn't angry, not yet. She was thinking if they wanted her trapped, they better make sure. No cameras were watching, but it was too late. The video would spread in less than an hour. The clip went viral. A freelance producer, who had been saving the feed on her laptop, got it before the network could remove it. The video showed the exact second. Jasmine calmly read the memo about energy leaders, and Karoline's face changed completely. The interruption, the words secret lies, the tension, then the cut to break. The video hit Twitter first, then TikTok, then the news. They blurred some lines, but the damage was done. People were curious, many of them. Why did the broadcast suddenly go to a commercial? What exactly was Jasmine discussing? And more importantly, why did Karoline contact the police by the middle of the night? The phrase "had she read documents" was trending online. Meanwhile, in Washington, things were far less dramatic. The Capitol Police responded not with arrests or searches, but with an official investigation. They phoned Jasmine's office at around 11:45 at night to ask if she was open to a voluntary discussion about a possible safety concern from a televised segment. Jasmine stayed calm. She had been through worse, yet she was definitely upset. Her Chief of Staff, Noel, picked up the call, using speakerphone, pacing around his apartment. It's standard, he said. They have to follow up when a report is filed, especially one from someone like Leavitt. She described it as a breach of national security. Jasmine sat on her couch with her laptop, playing the clip over and over. I read from official congressional documents, she said. I didn't even summarize. I just read the exact words. It doesn't matter, Noel replied. They want to intimidate you or turn you into a warning. Either way, you're now in their spotlight. Her phone buzzed. Another network asked for an interview. MSNBC. She refused then. CNN. She refused again. But the truth was, she wasn't ready to speak. Not yet. Not until she fully understood Karoline's real plan. At the same time, Karoline had already issued a statement. It was lengthy, dramatic, and focused on the word reckless. She accused Jasmine of misusing public trust by sharing documents she claimed lacked proper context and threatened national safety. There was no actual evidence, just a mess of buzzwords aimed to cause fear. Her biggest mistake, though, was thinking journalists wouldn't verify her claims by sunrise. To respected political writers, Alison Baird from Politico and Marcus Lynn from Reuters, had double-checked every quote Jasmine made. During the program, they posted exact comparisons. Jasmine's words matched the source, documents the pages, the official release dates. Every file had been public. Nothing was secret, nothing was leaked. The truth wasn't exciting, but it was solid. Noel sent the fact checks to all major channels, telling them what Jasmine said came directly from verified sources. Jasmine replied with one word: waiting. She hadn't commented publicly, not online, not to journalists, not even to other lawmakers. But she watched what was happening. People weren't just defending her. They were analyzing every second of the clip. One TikTok user slowed down Karoline's reaction frame by frame, calling it the second someone realizes truth is stronger than spin. Viewers loved it. By late morning, even some Republicans looked uneasy. Senator Glenn Royden from Indiana tweeted whether you support Rep. Crockett or not, using law enforcement to threaten a Congress member is dangerous. That tweet alone gained over 100,000 likes in just 2 hours. Karoline's supporters stayed mostly silent. She later went on a right-wing podcast and stuck to her story. She claimed it wasn't about facts, but about intent. She said Jasmine twisted public data to create false ideas. The host nodded, saying that's just what they do. Jasmine's silence, though, was turning more powerful than anything Karoline was shouting. By the time Jasmine walked into her Capitol Hill office around noon, the media was already waiting. Some shouted questions. She walked past them. Inside, Noel gave her a folder. Early report from the lawyers, he said. They think we should go on offense. Jasmine agreed, but said nothing, standing at the window, watching the crowd of Journalists, she finally spoke. She thought I'd run, or cry, or beg. Noel looked at her. But you're not going to. She faced him and said, I grew up in South Dallas. I've handled worse than press drama and a scared white woman calling 911. But if Karoline believed this would pass quickly, she was wrong the next morning. The story had already shifted. Reporters crowded outside Jasmine's office with microphones and cameras. It wasn't regular political noise. This was bigger. The moment Karoline called the cops during a live show had sparked something greater. But inside, Jasmine's team worked quietly, and with focus. She met privately with her lawyers and top aides. Noel looked tired, still wearing yesterday's tie. Across from him sat Saad Milton, Jasmine's legal advisor and longtime friend from Howard Law School. Tell me exactly what you said and what you showed, Saad asked with a pen. Ready. Jasmine opened her folder and pointed. Here's an FOIA release from 2021, this summary from an oversight committee published in congressional records, and this one from a public ethics website. So everything's legal? Saad asked Jasmine. Not every bit good, Noel said, because the police haven't officially said you're not under investigation. Jasmine shook her head. They're not delaying, they're just waiting to see which way politics turns, and the political tide was turning. Quickly, news channels stopped talking about safety threats and started questioning overreach, a Congress member being reported to law enforcement for reading public documents. The irony spoke for itself. By lunch, a surprising opinion came forward. Congressman Will Granger from Kansas, known for staying quiet, appeared on NPR. He said, I don't share Rep. Crockett's views, but calling police on her for reading public files is not how democracy works. It distracts from real problems. His words made headlines not because they were bold, but because they came from a moderate. Jasmine stayed silent outside, but inside her office, she planned her next move. We can't just defend, she said. We need to show this isn't new. That fear is often used to silence people, Saad replied. You want to go broad, Jasmine said. I want to go deep. She wasn't only thinking about Karoline anymore. She was thinking about everyone told they're too loud or emotional when they speak the truth, while Jasmine worked. Karoline was losing control. Her second statement that day was less polished. She said she acted carefully and followed procedure when she alerted officials, but nobody was convinced. The Capitol Police, under media pressure, made a short statement saying no investigation had been launched into Rep. Crockett. So far, they chose their words carefully, but even that small response said a lot. Still, the news coverage kept growing. One moment changed everything. A retired intelligence officer, Colonel Richard Ames, appeared on a CBS panel, saying clearly nothing Jasmine referenced was secret. Honestly, more people should know these things. The scariest part is trying to make truth a crime. That video got 4 million views in 6 hours. In Jasmine's office, things changed. People who were scared earlier now felt hopeful. Calls of support poured in from all across the country. Even some moderates reached out, saying, I don't always agree with her, but she's right this time. Noel leaned against her door, arms crossed. If she hadn't tried to shut you down, none of this would have gone national. Jasmine looked up from her desk. That tells you everything about who fears the truth. She took a breath and leaned in. Let's write a statement. They worked late that night, editing, choosing each word carefully. Strong but not angry, clear but with strength. She wouldn't yell, she wouldn't fake anything, she would just speak honestly, backed by facts, with calm force. But before releasing anything, Jasmine made a single choice that would change everything. Before Jasmine had even completed her statement, she quietly contacted someone she relied on, who was not part of the political world. Amari Denson, a reporter who investigates stories from Columbus, Ohio. They had met years before, during a discussion about holding institutions accountable, and had maintained their connection ever since. Jasmine understood that Amari was not after headlines, she was after the facts. Amari, Jasmine said, in a steady but serious tone, I have something important you should check out. 60 minutes later, Amari arrived in Jasmine's office, sitting on the ground, legs crossed, with a notebook and an open computer. The stack of papers Jasmine had shown during her segment sat between them, the pages marked and highlighted. Amari reviewed each carefully, sometimes pausing to follow dates with her finger. She stayed silent for a long time, then finally met Jasmine's eyes. You said every bit of this, Liv? Amari asked, slowly shaking her head. And this is what Karoline reported as a threat to the nation. Jasmine gave a dry smile. Seemed like telling the truth is risky again. Amari leaned back, hitting her pen softly against her knee. I am going to tell the whole story, not just your words, but the background of every record. Who hid it, and who gained from it. I want people to understand fully. This is why I came to you, Jasmine replied. This is bigger than me. It is about the truth. They do not want the public to notice. What happened next was not flashy or loud. It was careful, verified, and filled with proof. In less than a day, Amorous' article went public under the title, "The Broadcast Breakdown: What Jasmine Crockett Really Said." It was lengthy, more than 3,000 words, explaining every detail Jasmine had pointed to where it came from, when it was made public, and where anyone could find it. It had no opinions, only facts. The internet reacted strongly. One person posted, "This piece should be required reading in all civic classes. She did not reveal secrets. She revealed decay." Another wrote, "Karoline made the biggest error possible. She alerted the authorities about the wrong woman with the correct information." Even teachers started spreading it. A civics teacher in Flagstaff filmed her class reading it together at the same time. Karoline's public team was in panic. They never thought Jasmine would remain this quiet, or let the facts speak first, and they surely did not expect a well-known neutral journalist to break down the issue so clearly. That same afternoon, Jasmine's team shared her official note. It was just under 2 full pages. No drama, no yelling, just direct words. "I quoted papers that every American has access to." It started, "I did not disclose anything. I reminded the public what they deserve to know. If that is seen as dangerous, then we all need to ask what kind of nation we are becoming." The last lines cut deeper than anything Karoline had said since the show. "When people like me, black women, outspoken women, raise our voices, we are usually faced with fear, not truth, but facts do not shake, they do not twist, and they do not disappear because someone dials emergency." By that night, Karoline was under rising pressure from all directions. Even media that used to support her began to change. One conservative writer said, "I disagree with Crockett often, but the papers are real. If this was a power play, it failed." Fox News even questioned if Karoline had gone too far and made Jasmine into a national hero. Jasmine did not want that role later at her place. She told Noel, "They are already making this about race and politics, like I am just another loud black woman who got lucky with a powerful sentence." "You are not." Noel replied, "I know, but I did not come here to be turned into a figure. I came to present proof." Outside of Washington, the world kept moving fast, cruel and wild, but Jasmine's silence gave people time to think, something they could not brush off with a quick comment. But while the general public started paying attention, the main government office felt the pressure, and they were not going to remain silent long. Within the West Wing, phones rang constantly. By early Saturday, Trump's media team gathered in a secure spot. No phones, no leaks, one goal: fix the damage. What began as a night news moment had turned into a big problem. Not only because Jasmine Crockett spoke truth on air, but because her steady and persistent way of doing it was hitting nerves in ways yelling never could. "She never shouted," one staffer whispered, watching clips on his screen. "She just stated everything like a weather update. That is what makes her a risk," said another. "She made it sound normal at that time." Next door, in the executive building, senior officials reviewed public opinion. Jasmine's popularity had gone up by 12 points nationwide, especially among undecided and middle-aged voters. That group was expected to avoid left-wing messages, but Jasmine had not seemed radical. She seemed ready, calm, and worst of all, convincing. Back in Congress, she got flooded with invites: ABC, NBC, PBS, even 60 Minutes. She turned all of them down. Instead, she spoke at small local events where she could speak directly to people. That weekend, she traveled to Toledo, Ohio, and stood inside a packed gym wearing jeans and a dark jacket. Someone far back stood up. "I am not into politics," she said. "I did not vote for you, but I watched that show, and I want to know, why are they so afraid of people reading papers?" Jasmine thought and said, "Maybe because if we all start reading what is already out there, we will stop trusting those who claim it is too hard to understand." That quote spread widely again. Noel in DC texted after, "We might need to print that on signs." At the same time, Karoline was having a hard time. She had gone on a talk show the day before, repeating that Jasmine misused the information to hurt the president, but people were turning against her, even her own party. Some lawmakers quietly told reporters they wished she had chosen a different path. Two even said in public that calling the police looked bad in politics. That meant being left alone. In Jasmine's group, things were gaining speed. Young team members called the media chaos the Crockett effect. A lawyer joked Jasmine should start charging to teach how to request public info. But Jasmine stayed serious. "This is not done," she told Noel late Sunday while checking her calendar. "They have not replied yet. Do you think Trump will speak?" "He will wait for his advisors, but he will, yes, and he did on Monday morning." From the president's desk, Trump gave a surprise speech. "We have seen many dishonest people lately," he said with a cold face. "Some members of Congress are causing trouble by acting like they know more than they do. It is risky, it is political, and very unfortunate." He never said Jasmine's name. He did not need to. The internet noticed people made videos comparing both clips. In one, Jasmine holds a paper in the next, Trump waves his hand, saying dishonest people. Watchers connected everything, and many did not like What they saw. Even a conservative writer, Peter Lang, wrote an article titled "If Truth Scares You, Maybe You Are the Problem" inside her office. Jasmine saw the alert like everyone else. She looked at her screen, then at Noel, and said, "He is trying to test me." "What will you do?" Saad asked. Jasmine got up. "I will respond my way." And when she finally spoke live and unplanned, it struck harder than expected. The stage was plain. No big flags, no music, just one mic in front of simple chairs, and one small black board saying Rep. Jasmine Crockett speaks to press. The event took place in a small town center near DC, but far enough to avoid attention. It was not picked for drama, but because it was calm, reachable, and fit all reporters who came. Journalists took all chairs, others stood near walls. It was not only politics reporters, there were freelance writers, school newspapers, even a few podcasters hoping for short audio clips. Jasmine came in alone, no helpers. Noel and Saad stayed at the back. They helped her get ready, but she was not using papers. She did not need them. She went to the mic, cleared her throat once, looked around and said, "I will not take long, but I will speak clearly." Then silence. Last week was not just too much reaction, not just a planned show, it was something worse. It was a public way to make truth feel like danger. She stopped to let it sink. "I was asked to talk on a show about honesty, and I did. I gave facts from public files anyone in this country can read, because I think sunlight still works best to clean lies." No screen helped. Her voice strong and calm, but when people hear truth out loud, they shake, not because they think it is false, but because they know it is true, and they wish no one said it. A few writers nodded. "The scary part was not what I said, it was how fast someone called police to shut down another worker. Think on that. Someone in Congress called the law, not because I made threats, not because I lied, but because truth made her feel exposed." Cameras snapped like a beat. "I do not care if you like my politics. This is not about that. This is about if fear and power should control what is okay to say. If I cannot read a file you paid tax for, then what does that mean for our freedom?" She changed her tone, stronger now. "I will not say sorry. I will not take it back, and I will not let anyone change rules just because they hate true facts." Then came the line that stayed on news for days. "If truth makes you scared enough to call police, maybe it is you who needs to be checked." The room took a breath. Cameras came close. At the back, Saad shut her eyes. Noel whispered, "That is the one." Jasmine kept going. "People say I am too loud, too angry, use hidden words, but no one ever said, I am quiet, and they never will." She did not scream. She did not move. "I do not like drama. I want truth, and if you try to make me stop by dragging my name, you are not watching me close enough." She stepped back from mic. "No more talk. No extra lines, just a small head bow," and leapt through side door. The video hit the internet in minutes. News people cut it into clips before she even got to her car. By night, many writers had already started articles. The power of silence broken. Why? Her words were more than just her. From facts to fight, how one talk became big news. But Jasmine did not go home. She and Noel rode quiet to a late talk with 2 other lawmakers. She was not planning shows or a tour. She was building something small, smart, hard to delete. But while she kept doing the work, the White House made its move, and this time it was clear. They put out a note, clean, sharp, and planned early. Tuesday morning. It did not say her name, but the goal was clear. The title was "Keeping the Country Together Against False Facts." Inside it said some lawmakers were using public talks to twist how the government works and hurt safety stories for their own goals. The line "safety stories" made many in DC worried. Jasmine saw it on her phone on her way to a breakfast with school system people in Silver Spring. She read it once, then again. Noel next to her read it too, and said they are not stopping. She said they cannot. They already told the lie now. They must sell it by late morning. Right Side News picked it up. They said Jasmine was wild, only cared about looking good, even said she was a risk one. Show host said, "This is not brave, it is using honesty like a weapon," but not all news agreed. Big channels asked, what did she do wrong? What part was twisted? Where was the danger? No one could answer. Then came a leak around lunch. Someone from inside the White House lawyer team gave a note to a paper in Philly not known for big stories. The paper was short, written 2 days after her talk. It said none of her words broke rules. One line stood out: "The real worry is her using open files to make stories that may hurt our image. If we let it go." The note did not say they did wrong, but showed reason, and that was enough. Now the White House note felt weak. Her haters looked scared. Not right. She and her team met that night, as news spread fast. Saad held the printed note and a glass. She said, "Even their lawyers know you broke no rule." Noel agreed and said, "Now all others know." Jasmine sat hands together, no smile. She said, "They are not done. They do not lose easy one to get ahead." Noel asked. She nodded once. "I want them to know each time they come for me, They will leave with fewer lies still standing that night. Jasmine shared a rare clip from her phone. No big video team, no name screen, just her near her books. Talking into camera, she said, "I said what I had to on stage, but now I want to talk to people watching this and asking what is going on. I did no crime. I shared no secret. I told truth. I used open files. You could have seen too, and the fact it scared them. Shows we let people lie to us because they sound sure. You do not need a past to read what is yours. Do not let fear stop you from learning." The clip was short, under 2 minutes, but got over 2 million views by morning. While all this grew, Karoline Leavitt stayed quiet. Her online posts slowed her team. Gave one tweet, "We care about public safety. No more words, no shows, no sorry." But inside her group, people worried. Someone from her team told news. They did not expect this big hit, and now they fear it will last. And it did, by the end of the week even. Trump's side, people in office told their teams to stay out of it. One helper to a senator was heard on hot mic saying, if the White House wanted to change the topic, they picked the wrong target. But people outside were not just watching, they began to speak, and that changed it all. It started with voicemails. Jasmine's office got many. Each hour, teachers, nurses, war vets, shop staff, school kids, most said the same thing. "I never cared for politics, but I saw this, and I cannot stay quiet." Some cried, some were mad, some sounded unsure, like they could not believe they called a congresswoman. But they all shared one thing: they did not talk about laws, they talked about right and wrong, and it kept coming in. One day, her team hired 2 new helpers just to read emails. Thousands came from small towns, big cities, red zones, blue zones. Some said just a few words: "I do not agree with you on most things, but here you were right." Some were emotional, personal accounts. One was sent by a lady in Cheyenne, Wyoming, who shared she had not voted since 2008, but wanted to register again, only to back those who do not freeze when things get tough. Jasmine read that one aloud to Noelle. "She is not even a fan of mine." She laughed, but she sees that. "I did not give in." Noel tapped on his phone. "Take a look at this." On his screen was a video from a town meeting in Missouri. A Republican voter had stood and said, "I never voted for Crockett. Did not even know who she was until a few days ago." But if people believe reading notes is illegal, maybe the issue is not her. The crowd clapped, not wild, but strong. True, the change was slow, but clear, and it did not come from experts or news panels. It came from normal folks who had enough of false words, enough of being treated like they could not hear the facts, enough of leaders hiding behind catchy terms while punishing anyone bold enough to read the real details. An old mail worker from Erie sent a letter in her own hand. "She made me think of Barbara Jordan," it said. "Not loud, just wise, just calm, just brave." Jasmine kept that one near her. Then came the event. It was not planned by any team. It began with a Facebook page made by local students in Arlington and grew fast. By Saturday, more than 3K people met near the same studio where Jasmine had talked last week. They brought signs. "Truth is not a crime. Facts beat fear. Reading is not a threat." Some raised prints of the pages Jasmine had shown on air, taken straight from state sites. One lady even sealed hers and wore it like a badge. Jasmine did not go. She did not want the focus on her, but she watched online, and so did the White House. A staffer warned top members that they were losing the story, and that Jasmine was now a voice for a big anger they could not shape back in her room. Jasmine stayed steady. She sat with a group of law experts to plan new rules that would make records easy to find and hard to hide. The time was not random. She was using this time to show light in dark corners where most never looked because they were trained not to. At that point, talks of panels started to go around the hill, not about Jasmine, about the wrong use of law forces for payback. Some leaders from both sides were asking for a check on Karoline's call, how it was placed, who was told, and if it broke House rules. Karoline kept quiet. Her group gave no more comments. Her media time faded. Even right-leaning shows began to step away slowly, shifting to new news. Her name no longer gave them hits like before. Still, Jasmine kept her pace. No big win talk, no loud moves. Just calm steps. Later that week, in a silent hour, she stood by her window, looking at the warm late summer fog over the town. "You think this will last?" she asked Noel. He said, "Maybe not, but those watching will recall." She turned to him. "Good," she said, "because next time someone like me speaks, they should think of this." But before it ended, Jasmine had one more choice to make, and it would lock her place in the next fight. The hill felt still that Monday as summer turned to fall, and while DC never really sleeps, the air was changed. You could sense it in the talks, in the halls, in the way the guards spoke to the teams. Jasmine Crockett was no longer just a name. She was now a story, being watched live, and now she had to pick behind quiet doors. Some party folks had ideas. Maybe lead a group, maybe do a full media push, maybe make it all about Karoline. Push for an ethics check, use this swing, and ride the wave. But Jasmine did not want a loud match. She wanted real fix that morning. As press stood outside, and her aides spoke of cameras, Jasmine called a group time. Her full team came into her space. Noelle Sade knew staff helpers, all of them. She stood ahead with a notepad in one hand, and a pen in the other. Here is the plan, she said. We will not use our hours to make drama. We will use them to make sure no one goes through what I did just for doing their work. She turned the pad and wrote 3 lines on the board. 1 law, to guard truth-tellers and open access to records. 2 rules, to stop using police as tools between leaders. 3, a full public web list of all records shown. Live this is not about fighting back, she said. It is about making sure truth does not need boldness to stay alive. The room nodded, not just to agree, but to feel. They knew it, they were tired. To out front the news folks stood. Jasmine came out afternoon to give what they thought might be a big line. They leaned in, mics up, lenses ready. She gave a small smile. No speech today, she said, just wanted to share. We have written a law draft. They blinked. One asked, law for what? To stop what took place last week from ever coming back. Another voice asked, are you filing charges on Leavitt? Jasmine's face stayed firm. No. I am doing what she should have done from the start. My duty. Then she turned and went back in. It was not loud, not wild, but it was true, and that is what folks were hungry for. Something true. The reply was fast. Support groups praised it. Writers called it deep. Even some GOP folks said the plan should be heard, and with the crowd the point was clear. One post said she did not just bring proof, she turned it into law. Another said, first time I saw someone take heat and make it count, not noise. Jasmine's support rose again, but more so she had changed a deeper thing, public hope in a time when rage was a tool and spin was a show. Jasmine took a harsh hit and turned it into a guide on honor. She did not cry, did not beg, did not snap. She stood still. She let the facts speak louder than lies, and for once the land heard. By week's end, she went to a small school in Fort Wayne, Indiana, one of many calm visits with no press. A young one asked her in class, how do you stay strong when lies spread? Jasmine looked her in the eye and said soft, because truth never asked for a pass to be true, and it never will. Later, as she left with Noelle, he asked, you think people will hold this? She said, maybe not all of it, but they will keep the feel of what it was like to see truth, and no fear. She stopped at the road, and if that feeling stays even just a bit, then next time they might ask more from those they vote for. The sun was down, no press, no chance, just a woman standing firm, as always, still strong, calm, because at times the most clear reply is the one that stays firm when truth feels hard. Some will try to hide it, twist it, or hurt the ones who speak it, but when you stand in it, calm, sure, and with facts, you shift the game. Jasmine Crockett did not just beat a hit, she used it to make change that lasts. If this tale moved, you share it, speak on it, ask more from your leaders, and do not sit back. Step in, speak out, and keep aware. Let truth end the talk.